What's up, everybody? SodoMik here. Today we're actually going to look at Sword of Legends Online. If you're not aware of Sword of Legends, it's a Chinese original MMORPG. Came out a few years back, and they're actually releasing it now in North America. I had not originally intended on playing this game after watching some videos, but a friend of mine actually hooked me up with the beta key for last week, so shout out to Jeb. Thanks for that, buddy. So we did take a look, and this video is going to provide kind of my first thoughts. Disclaimer on this, though, I only played the game for about 3 hours or so, so there's plenty of content in this game that I didn't get to experience firsthand. So this is just really a first look. Why don't we dive into it? Okay, so right off the top, obviously very Asian theme to the game. The graphics are outstanding. The character creation screen was actually really in depth, which you find in a lot of the Eastern MMOs, which I've played in the past. And I think how you look and how your character's customized is a really big deal to a lot of people. So I think it's really cool there. One of the things that I loved the most about the character creation was that they actually had little videos to show you what the combat felt like, as well as a description of each class. So that was something that I hadn't seen before, and I thought was really unique and actually very helpful for me to decide, what class I wanted to play. Ultimately, in this tutorial, we went with the Bard, which is a ranged caster that can also heal as a secondary. So that's kind of where we were with the character creation. Now let's talk a little bit about what I liked about the game. Okay, so some of the things I like about this game I actually already mentioned. The graphics, first of all, the graphics are great. It looks really, really nice. One of the things that I really love about seems like all the Asian MMOs is just the movement in general, the way your character interacts with the environment. You come up to a bridge and you don't have to go around and enter the bridge from its opening. You can jump over it, you can jump onto it. Which brings me to my second part of that is actually the way you jump in this game. You jump really high, which is cool, and there's a double jump, which is ultra cool. I love jumping around and bouncing around. Um, One of the reasons you can do that is because the mounts in this game are flying mounts. So this game actually utilizes 360 degrees in most areas. Some of the towns I was in, you couldn't fly or what have you, but um, there's a lot of space in this game where you can actually utilize the sky as well as the first 6 feet of height or whatever is normal. So I really like that. Flying mounts again, that's cool. You can kind of move whichever direction you want. It's very feels very good. Probably the one feature that I liked most about this game, in comparison to most any other game, including MMO genre, uh, is they didn't make you double back. A lot of games, you get a quest from guy A, you go and do quests, whatever it is, and then you come back to the same NPC to turn it in. This game was very different. You almost never turned the quest in to the person who gave it to you. They would give you the quest, and then you would do the quest, and then you would turn it in someplace else, and you just kind of keep going in more of a linear fashion. So it didn't waste your time. But the questing in general is one of the things that it kind of leads into our next section here is what I did not like. So unfortunately for Swords of Legends, my did not like section is quite a bit larger than my like section. Starting with the Gameforge launcher. Okay, so this launcher, I just it's everything wrong with launchers. You need to have it installed to play the game. You need to have it installed to uninstall the game. If you uninstall the launcher first, like I did, you have to reinstall the launcher to uninstall the game. There's pop-ups all over it. It's trying to sell you stuff constantly. It's just annoying. I didn't like it. GameForge needs to really hone that in because that alone is just super frustrating as a player. Like you just want to play your game, and you got to go through all these advertisements before you can get to it. So big thumbs down on the launcher. Gameforge. Um, the next thing I didn't really like about the game was just the feel of the game. Like in general, uh, the Eastern style lore of the game. Um, you know, I'm not a big lore guy, but like I couldn't identify with the lore at all, and I couldn't get immersed into the game that I didn't identify with the lore. Getting a quest because I was well groomed and had good manners, like I get it. It's an Eastern themed MMO, but it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't attract me. It doesn't. I don't identify with this, so it just threw me off. It's very immersive into an Asian culture, which is probably really good for a lot of people, but it just didn't appeal to me at all. The next thing I would say that I didn't like about the game was, I like I said, I spent 3 hours in this game, and I was going from quest to quest to quest, and it was streamlined and great in that sense. But the quests didn't feel meaningful. I didn't feel like I was learning anything. It felt like the first 3 hours plus of this game, and I eventually gave up. Was just like to attempt to appease someone who has ADHD or something. You're constantly giving these small tasks that have zero meaning other than to collect a little bit of coin. I think out of the, I'm going to say 100 quests I did, three of them seem to have any purpose to give you a certain item or teach you something about the game. So I didn't like it. There were too many quests. They were too short. They were not impactful. It felt like I wasn't actually learning anything, which is a big deal. I think, you know, half the time I was turning in quests, I didn't even know what I had completed. Um, from my experience, a tutorial or an early quest is meant to teach you something about the game. It's meant to teach you about the world, whether it's lore or mechanics. If it taught you about the combat, teaches you about how to mount, teaches you about all the progression streams. I got very little of that. They have a combat system in this game that has combos in it, which seemed very interesting, but they didn't really teach you about how they work. Um, and that leads to the next dislike. Standing in place to cast. I don't want to be a pylon. It felt like an old MMO. It felt like they didn't learn anything about this. Like if you move, your cast fails. It felt clunky. I want to be able to move a little bit. I want to be able to interact while I'm doing stuff. Standing in place to cast, it's just not exciting. It's not interesting. It got boring very quickly. Didn't like it at all. Maybe that's just the bard class or whatever, and I should try a different class. But I really, really didn't like that. And then finally, the last thing I'll say that I really didn't like or didn't understand was the vehicles.
Now entering vehicle mode.
Um, when I think about vehicles in games, I think about Borderlands, I think about Halo. Like when you get in a vehicle, your life changes. Like you're excited, it's cool, it changes the way you interact. This was just, it was out of place. Like I didn't understand um, why the vehicle part existed, and again, maybe later in the game it has more functionality, makes more sense. I don't know. But in its current state at the beginning of the game, I really didn't get it. There were two vehicles that we used, and neither one of them really did anything for me. All right, let's talk about what they can improve in this game because I think there's a decent amount. Um, there's a lot of voice acting that's still in Mandarin. I assume it's Mandarin, so apologies if it's not. Not a huge deal, but obviously, if you're going to westernize it, like you're going to have to finish polishing that kind of stuff and make it in English. Um, I would like to see an improved tutorial system. Instead of having a million quests that are meaningless, I think fewer quests that actually dive more in depth to the combat mechanics of combos, you know, how to actually move around in the world, some of the progression streams. They have all these progression streams, and you don't get exposure to them at all in the first 3 hours. Like, expose people to cool parts of your game early on. Don't assume that they're going to hang out with you for 20 hours before they get into that kind of stuff. So I would definitely improve there. Um, I have some concerns. I mentioned at the onset of this video that I hadn't planned on trying this game. It's because the videos that I watched from other streamers showed the combat as just being like super lagging. And I don't mean slow or like desync or anything like that. I'm talking about an entire party taking 2-3 minutes to kill every single mob. I could see that getting really old really quickly, and the mobs themselves having like some mechanics, but like mostly kind of just something to make sure you're still awake. Is the way that I looked at it. I just, I don't know. Everybody will probably have a different take on it. It is a unique feature of Swords of Legends that it seems like every single mob you fight is like a big deal. But it definitely just felt like something that would just slow down the game for me, and I just don't really see the attraction. Again, disclaimer, I didn't actually experience that in this game. The tutorial, the mobs died just like any other MMO I've ever played, like one or two or three shots, and every mob died. So it wasn't like that. So maybe I was just watching some end game stuff and didn't realize. But it did feel like every time I watched the video, that's what was happening, and it doesn't really attract me too much. All right, so there you have it. That's my first impressions of the game. I think overall my decision here will be I probably will not be playing this game. That's just one man's opinion. I think for me it's too different in the areas where I'd wish it was similar, and it's too similar in areas I wish it was different. So for me, it's not really my type of thing. But you know what? If you like this game, please let me know and let everybody know in the comments below about what you like about it and why you're going to be playing it. And don't forget, if you like the video, please hit the like button. Please hit that sub button. As a new content creator, that really goes a long way for me, and I'm trying to get to 100 subs here, and it's early days, so anything you can do to help me out is mucho appreciated. All right, until next time.